Good morning from a very rainy road Atlanta. So it's nice to be on a track that we know. Wouldn't say it's a home track, but it's certainly within a 5-hour radius of BimmerWorld. Both Evan and I have been here for lots and lots of years, and it is raining, or it was raining from the hotel this morning. It was raining from last night, and the transit was absolutely ridiculous. 50 miles an hour on interstate felt terrifying, especially with Evan driving. Apparently I'm a bad passenger, so.
He's a terrible passenger. I figured he was comfortable in race cars, but.
Only when I drive the race cars, apparently. So we're at a very wet and rainy track. Looks like it may be drying off a little bit. We certainly haven't seen dry patches on track, but at least the rain is not falling. More rain's supposed to come today. Evan is driving the car today. His first time in this event in the car at speed. And how are you feeling about that?
Pretty good. Obviously not super familiar with this car, but that seems to be the name of the game for this event in particular. Very familiar with Road Atlanta, so glad to be starting this at a track that I know well. That won't require a whole lot of thought or track walks or anything like that. We were just racing here a few months ago, actually. But yeah, I guess, rain always makes you a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I think rain might be our best shot at being the most competitive we can be. So I'm happy to see the track wet. I wish it would rain more. Yesterday, James mentioned, I think we got hit with some cars that actually had a drying track behind us. And I fear that may be what's going to happen again this morning. So if it would dump on us a little bit, I think it would be great, but we'll see.
So we're out this morning in groups based on yesterday's qualifying time at Nelson Ledges. We're in roughly the third group, 12th spot, which is nice. And we are currently tied for fourth overall, leading our class. And so we're good on average so far at all the events. Line up a little bit later, could be good, could be bad. After Evan's night driving last night in the rain, I am utterly confident in this man's ability to...
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be better than fine. It'll be great. Great.
Right, we're piloting a 700 rear wheel horse M4.
No traction control.
No traction control, don't need that. Continental tires, do your part. Thank you. Every morning starts with the unload of the car.
Unload, and then reload, and then unload, and then reload. We have to carry this spare tire with us. It doesn't fit through the cage in the back of the car here. So all of our bags have to fit in front of that, which means every time we get to a hotel and every time we leave a hotel, we're nearly fully reloading this car. I think this is the kind of thing where if we did this event regularly in this car, we would get smarter and do something different, but for 1 week, we're gonna make it work.
You'd like to think we'd get smarter. I'm not so sure that the world's seen that.
I'm not gonna have to back that up because we're not doing this again in this car,
So nice, lightweight BimmerWorld forged wheel. However, it is a daily game of chicken of who has to lift the wheel out of the car, because that's not the most fun part. However, the worst part is the guy that has to crawl into the trunk to get all the stuff in front of the roll cage.
Camera like a get out of jail free on
So
that?
today it's Evan. Get in there.
James, do you want to talk about this fluid, which is not fuel?
This is not fuel. Oh gosh, that doesn't look pleasant on a long road trip, but this is actually pre-mixed coolant. Some Redline water wetter, deionized water, things for the cooling system of the car and the intercooling system of the car, since this is an air-to-water intercooler. Just because we know that stuff in the cocktail that we mix isn't readily available, we keep that in the car. Evan, you're doing a great job.
Thanks, James. comes the light one. Racing's not always glamorous. Whoa, watch yourself.
So today it's going to rain, we assume. Everything gets laid out on the tarp, covered up, lay all the stuff that we probably are going to use or might use or need access to over to the side. Hope our stuff doesn't get drowning wet, although the humidity level in the car has gone up over the last day or so, which makes it extra pleasant. The nice grass clippings from Nelson Ledges. If we get some time, this car needs to visit the car wash. We'll see if we can make that happen. So far, sleep feels more important. Evan Levine.
Greetings.
You're getting ready to get into a 700 wheel horse car, no DSC, no laps on the wet track. Wet, puddles, who knows? How do you feel?
Good. I think we have the car for it, and it probably plays to our advantage. Like I said before, I wish it would just rain consistently. You know, this is always the toughest condition. You got a track that's wet in some places, drying in other places. Normally you get a lot more laps to figure something like that out. You know, right now we're going to get 3, so even the out lap is going to be really important to feel the track out.
Well, get in there, make it happen.
Thanks. Woo! Great times.
How was that lap around the paddock?
It was really good. Got to feel the car out a little bit. I mean, I'll tell you what, BimmerWorld in this GTMore car powered by Optima batteries. Gotta thank Racing To End Alzheimer's for helping us be here and supporting this great cause. MCS shocks, Continental tires, tons of grip out there. You know, speeds are a little lower when it's wet like this. Redline oils keeping the car at temperature. Everything lubricated like it should be. You know, really just couldn't ask for a better session.
Well, it was about a 10-second lap around the paddock,
Yep.
and you looked incredible out
Yeah,
there.
here we have a delayed start, so yeah, good times.
So, rain, drying track, rapidly drying track.
Yep.
How was it out there?
It's pretty good. Honestly, it was better than I expected. The car was super good. The grip. This is tough conditions. This is the toughest conditions in my opinion. The track's not dry. The track's not wet. It's changing every lap, honestly. And so what you're doing is you're trying to feel it out. You're trying to, where can I push this harder? Where does the track have grip? Where is it super slick? Coming out of 7 onto the back straight here is one of the most important spots at Road Atlanta. It was real slick. Hard to put the power down. So thankfully we have a pretty quick car to dig out of there. The brake zones, I think, were probably where I was struggling the most to find it quickly. Rule number 1 in a situation like this is do not drive the car off the track. And so I didn't want to play that game. I proceeded pretty cautiously. When you're trying to find the limit, you can start here and work down, or you can start here and work up. These kinds of conditions, car you're not familiar with, track you haven't seen in a couple months, a little bit of rain, absolutely you work your way up. And so that's what I tried to do. As I started to get into some of those, realized you could definitely push it a bit harder. The car has way more brake in the wet than I expected. And so was able to, get on that pretty good towards the end, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's an awesome track. I love this track. Driving a car with big turbos is a lot different. There were a number of times when, I would take second gear out of a corner and it was probably the right gear for certain situations or certain cars, but in this car, it put it on the red line real fast, and then when I'd go to shift, I was losing that boost again and had to build it back in third. I think I could have probably carried third and let that spool a bit, especially given the lack of traction coming out of some of the corners. But it was a lot of fun. Nobody caught anybody. Great run group, good drivers. Enjoyed it.
Well, I think you did great. We were second run group out, third run group second, I think. And I think maybe second, third fastest time in that run group. Who knows what everybody else did. And like yesterday, I have a feeling we're going to see cars go faster, even that qualified lower at Nelson Ledges, because again, it's just one track. That's a snapshot. It's not a measure of your true performance. But when it dries up like this, certainly the guys driving later are going to have probably somewhat of an advantage. So they're getting lined up now, and you can already see dry spots in the paddock. So anyway, one more run this afternoon.
Yep.
Should be good. Take what you learned, go faster.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be dry this afternoon, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
At Road Atlanta, and we've got some results from today and a special guest. First, results.
Looks like we're P5 overall this morning, Road Atlanta. I'm less disappointed than I was when I first stepped out of the car. Turns out it wasn't so bad at all. Shout out to Carl and Sean Troy, killing it in the BMW M5. They're one of our big competitors in class and looking like maybe one of our big competitors overall. So we're real close in points with them now. James and I have some stuff to discuss for how we want to run the car in the afternoon. Looks like it's going to be dry, but pretty happy with that.
And as Evan was getting out of the car, we had a special friend drop by that's a big part of this year's program, Phil Frings.
Hey guys, I was in the neighborhood. I was actually in Miami, but anyway, I was in the neighborhood. I had to come up here and see it. I mean, we are covering this car with the names of people that have been affected by Alzheimer's. That's our purpose. Big thanks to BimmerWorld. Big thanks to James Clay and Evan for the effort here. Tomorrow I'm going to meet up with the guys in Nashville. We've got another batch of names coming. I think we have 60-ish names on right now, and I don't know how many are coming into Nashville, but maybe we're in the 70s, maybe even 80. But we're looking for 100 names. So if you want to have your loved one's name on the car, we'll document it. You'll be able to see it. And as the one lap continues, we'll be adding names.
So you can donate by hitting the link below. It's BimmerWorld Racing to End Alzheimer's, and there'll be a link for the donation. Remember, those donations are matched. So for $100 to get a loved one's name on the car, that $100 turns into $500 that goes fully to the charity. None of it comes out, no operating expenses. It's all goes to fund the cure, fund the caregivers. So consider that if you would, please. We will be running the car for the rest of the year in a variety of events. Your loved one will ride with us the whole way. So please consider.
Honor your loved one.
not super happy. Car's squirming around, hot, braking, not performance. I've done times like that in my spec car. But crazy, the challenge of this event is wheeling this street car. And it's a street car, and by the way, this thing weighs what? Your spec car is 2750 with driver.
2850.
2850 with driver. This thing is 1,000 more pounds than that, or so, depending on fuel load. So, it's a crazy car. And by the way, when you're racing, which is our standard discipline, you go to the racetrack and you go through practice. You spend 25 minutes in a practice session. You may have another practice session, or maybe qualifying. And qualifying, you have 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 25 minutes to come up with your one single best lap. And then you race. And then you race for a position, and your times don't matter as much. You've had all that and figured out how to be fast. And then now it becomes about position of your car versus other people. Here, you shoot out of the track with whatever condition it's got. You may have gotten to walk the track. You only have 30 minutes to do that. And on a track like Road Atlanta, it's 3.2 miles long. You're not going to get around it. So we opted out for the track. Well, it doesn't matter. We know the track. You launch out, and you have one outlap that stops at the start-finish line to figure out how fast you can go in this car, to figure out where I should be braking. And by the way, nothing is up to temp. You have no idea what it's going to change like for the next lap, and then the next lap when the tires get up to pressure, when we're actually doing this. So you figure that out in your one lap, maybe, and then stop. When it's your turn to start, you standing start, launch out, and first time you've hit turn one at that speed, and so you start figuring it out. And really, it's about the skill of iterations, how to iteratively push the car faster and faster. And we were talking about it. It's tough, right? Like it's tough. It plays with your head because we are used to inch perfection on a racetrack, and having the practice to be able to dial that in. Here, you're just feels like you're just kind of winging it.
Yeah, I mean, I got out. What James is joking about is I got out of the car, and I was pretty hot about it. I did not feel like it went very well, and the car didn't feel right. This didn't feel right. I didn't feel right. I missed these marks. It was off here. It was off there. In the end, it turns out we're actually doing pretty well. That was great. It went totally fine. I think I need to work on being okay with the errors that take place here. Everybody's making them, and that's actually the name of the game, right? It's cars you don't know on tires you don't know on. Thankfully today a track you do know, but not in a car like this. And so it's a constant, making the most of all these small mistakes, and like James said, iterating, which is very different.
Hey, Evan, you talked about it before at the track, and we were watching videos, or before the event, and he was watching one of Randy Pope's videos, and I'm sure you'll see some of our in-car, and it doesn't look very pro driver, and that's absolutely not a commentary on anybody's driving skill or ability to put this all together. The reality of this is you are trying to figure it out lap after lap, and while the whole time you're being timed, every time you're on the track that matters, so you don't get a throwaway lap. You can only screw it up so bad, and the next lap better be better. So we did pretty well today. So we're now thinking about this, and we're talking about it in the car, and like, gosh, why does it feel so bad? And then it turns out we did pretty darn well. So Evan was 5th in the rain this morning, tremendously good, and we still had some pretty solid wet track at that point. Afternoon, it dried up, 75 degrees, sun beating down. everything was different. This is the first time we've had speeds like this. We've had tires that are this hot, this squirmy, etc. And again, this is just street tires with tread blocks on road course stuff. This is to be expected, but it suddenly doesn't feel like a race car. And this track that you know in the dry, you know, what is it? But it turns out Evan, I think, was sixth overall. Sixth overall in our 3,800 pound. I've been corrected. And by the way, 3,800, that's my guess. I've been corrected. It's 575 at the wheel. We have on tap up to 800, which we're not using, and we'll see if we need to or want to. But anyway, that's what we're driving, and we're now sitting third overall. So tremendous performance by Evan today in the car. And again, it's a consistent performance, and that seems to be where we're doing well, is just consistent results everywhere. So, a little less than ideal. Yep. We are sitting in a QT station just outside of Marietta, Georgia. We hope that we'll be on the road again, but we had a transmission slip and get a little bit grumpy with us. This DSG tranny is interesting. Obviously we've worked on some of the tuning to hold the extra power. We've worked on clutches. We've touched a lot of things. Something we've touched is not happy, or may not be happy because of the power levels. We got a few theories that we're working on. Luckily, we have some resources. We're still in the southeast. We're near BimmerWorld. We are near Tennessee, and one of our sponsors, Mike Akerd, ACT Akerd Commutator Technology, is in Knoxville, Tennessee, with a big shop and big welcoming arms. So we may go see our buddy Mike tonight. We have all the parts. We talked to Phil in the office.
We have all the parts 5 hours away.
We have all the parts 5 hours away at BimmerWorld. In a perfect world, we can get all the parts to where we are. Whether we drive the car there, whether we trailer the car there, I think Phil and or someone from the BimmerWorld shop, Phil's been in charge of this project and just a superstar on it, and knows how this whole car is put together and how everything works on it. So, he's a tremendous resource. I wish he was on the trip with us. We can't fit our Phil in here. But so I don't know who's going to meet us. I don't know exactly what we're doing right now.
I mean, the good news is this was we've been saying all day, this was one of the shorter transfers. We're only 3 hours from where we're supposed to be. We've got 12, 11, 14 hours before we're supposed to be on track.
We've got a time zone change in our favor.
Yep, that's factored in.
Yeah. Oh well. So, been saying all day, boy, can't wait for getting maybe a beer, maybe a good dinner.
To be clear, we're not actually wasting time right now. The car has to cool off before we can try driving it again.
So we're doing hard work here.
Yeah, making videos. I'm in it to win it if you are. Stay up all night fixing the car?
Yeah, we're this far in, third place overall right now. I think we're absolutely going to do whatever it takes. I'm not worried about myself and staying up all night or doing whatever. I know we're relying on some of the resources at BimmerWorld, and certainly those guys are doing a lot of things, not only for us, but just it's busy season at BimmerWorld as everybody track prepares their cars and gets ready for whatever, whether it be the racetrack, the road, the new mod from that you wanted to do over the winter or before spring hits, and you really get out and start driving that new BMW. So they're busy, but hopefully we'll have the resources, parts, people, knowledge to get ourselves sorted.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Well, we got the call we didn't want back at home base. and the GTMore has an issue. Some shifting problems, not exactly sure what exactly it is, but on the highway they got stuck in a gear, then struggled to get back down into a gear, and then got stuck in first when they got to a safe spot. Tried to let everything cool down, but still not happy. And some further research with the codes that are shown and some of the symptoms that it has seems to indicate a transmission. So no real time to diagnose and try to go through it and throw various smaller parts at it. So we're gonna throw the book at it, and we have this transmission here, and Dave and myself, Dave's the real hero of the situation, we're gonna go down and swap this transmission out, and hope we get this thing back on the road before their first session tomorrow morning in Nashville so that they don't miss a session and can keep on trucking.